India Legal presents Courts Roundup.
Hello, I'm Hisha and you're watching Courts Roundup. In this program, we bring you the latest legal news and details of court proceeding. And before we begin, here's the headlines. In Shaheen Bagh protest case, Supreme Court rules that public places and roads cannot be occupied indefinitely. Rhea Chakraborty gets bail in drugs cases but no reprieve for brother Showik. Rhea asked to submit 1 lakh rupees bond and make her presence daily at the nearest police station for next 10 days. In Palghar Lynching case, Maharashtra government tells Supreme Court that there is no need to keep writ pending. Action has been taken against policemen. And Delhi High Court issues notice in plea challenging provision of Special Marriage Act that requires 30-day notice prior to registration of interfaith marriages.
India Legal presents Courts Roundup.
The Maharashtra government has urged the Supreme Court to see whether the PILs filed in connection with the Palghar lynching episode are in the right perspective or not. Senior advocate R. Basant for the state government argued, please note that the first FIR is for Section 302, IPC murder, and the other one is for Section 307, attempt to murder. State action has been initiated against all. 1 police official has been dismissed, 2 others have been compulsorily retired, and several others have been punished with pay cuts. Charge sheet has been filed against 252 persons. Everything is over. How is 32 applications still pending? It is a 1,000-page affidavit which we got only last night. Why is everyone filing the reply in the late night? At the last moment, we have not read the affidavit. How can we decide today? We will have to adjourn and let the petitioner for their reply. Re-imprinted Justice Bhushan in Maharashtra police has filed an affidavit in Supreme Court with details of punishment meted out to 18 police personnel for their role in being unable to prevent the lynching of 2 sadhus in Palghar earlier this year. Petitions seeking court monitored investigation and or transfer of the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation were filed before the apex court, alleging that the police was complicit in the lynching of the 2 saints. The right to protest in public places is not absolute, and public places cannot be occupied indefinitely for such protest. The Supreme Court ruled on a case highlighting the trouble faced by general public due to the road blockade at Shaheen Bagh in South Delhi by protesters who were opposing the Citizenship Amendment Act. Dissent and democracy go hand in hand, but protest must be carried out in designated areas. A 3-judge bench headed by Justice Sanjay Krishan Kaul ruled. Protesters cannot occupy public places indefinitely, the Supreme Court said this morning in a hugely influential verdict on a batch of petitions against the protest that swept Delhi's Shaheen Bagh against the contentious citizenship law cleared the parliament last year. Dissent and democracy go hand in hand, the top court observed, stressing that protests like this are not acceptable. We have to make it clear the public places cannot be occupied indefinitely, whether in Shaheen Bagh in Delhi or elsewhere. This sort of protests are not acceptable and authorities should act. They must keep such spaces free from obstruction, the top court said, adding the administration cannot wait for orders from the court to clear the protest site. We appreciate the right to peacefully protest and it can be held at designated places only, the court stressed. A three-judge bench of Justice S.K. Kaul, Aniruddha Bose and Krishna Murari announced the judgment while hearing a clutch of petition to decide if there can be an indefinite period of protest in a common area creates inconvenience for others. The bench had reserved its verdict at the last hearing on September 21st. We have to balance the right to protest and blocking of roads. In a parliamentary democracy, protest can happen in parliament and on roads, but on roads it has to be peaceful, the bench has said at the time. The court had earlier noted that there cannot be a universal policy since circumstances may vary from case to case. Delhi's Shaheen Bagh had emerged as the epicenter of anti-CAA protests last year, where the protesters, mostly women and children, sat for more than 3 months. The Shaheen Bagh protest received worldwide attention, and the Time magazine honored 82-year-old Bilkish Dadi, the face of the movement, as one of the 100 most influential people of 2020. Critics have said the contentious citizenship law, which the government says enables citizenship for non-Muslims from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan if they escape religious persecution and enter India before 2015, is anti-Muslim. A massive wave of protest has swept the nation against the CAA before the novel coronavirus pandemic forced a majority of population indoors and the government announced one of the world's strictest lockdown in March. Bureau Report. And the Supreme Court issued notice to the centre in a plea seeking direction to the government for bringing back workers from the Gulf. Filed by the President of Gulf Telangana Welfare and Culture Association, Patkuri Basant Reddy seeks direction to set up a mechanism to bring back Indian workers who have lost their passports in Gulf countries and implement policies framed for their welfare. A bench of Justice N.V. Ramana, Suryakant and Anuruddha Bose issued notice on the petition and sought response from the centre, states as well as the CBI on the plea, which urges the court for issuance of direction to assist Indians in the Gulf countries financially and legally for their rehabilitation. The plea highlights that around 44 Indians are facing death sentences and 33,940 Indian workers have died in the past 6 years in the Gulf countries. The Petitioner Association avers that when the workers are sent to Gulf countries by the agents, their salary is very low, payment of salary is not done. Some of them were sold by the agents and there is no life security. The plea states that many Indians have found themselves in adverse circumstances and have been compelled to become slaves and bonded laborers on account of being cheated by travel agents. And the Delhi High Court has issued notice in a petition challenging the 30-day public notice period to invite objection to solemnization of marriage under Special Marriage Act. The petition has also challenged the constitutional validity of Section 6 and 7 of the Special Marriage Act. Notice to the central and Delhi government was issued by a division bench of Chief Justice D.N. Patel and Justice Pratik Jalan. The petitioners have stated that the objection to marriage under the Special Marriage Act are mentioned under Section 4 of the Act, and the same do not require any public notice as they can be ascertained through government certificates and undertaking by the parties. 30-day period offers an opportunity to keen of the couple to discourage an intercaste or inter-religion marriage, and it is of paramount importance in the current scenario that couples opting into cross-community marriages are adequately protected. It is further asserted that as a consequence, such couples either choose to not register their marriages altogether or opt to convert their religion. The petitioner have also argued that the mandate of Section 6 and 7 insofar as they seek to classify interfaith marriages is discriminatory and violates Articles 14 and 21 of the Indian Constitution. It is stated that the section confer uncontrolled discretionary powers upon an administrative authority, that is Office of District Magistrate. The matter would be heard next on November 27th. Actor Rhea Chakraborty has been granted bail with condition nearly a month after her arrest over drug-related charges in the Sushant Singh Rajput case. Her brother Showik, however, has been denied any reprieve by the Bombay High Court. Another court had yesterday extended their custodial till October 28th. Sushant Singh Rajput employees Dipesh Sawant and Samuel Miranda has also been granted bail. Rhea Chakraborty has been asked to submit 1 lakh rupees as bond and mark her presence daily at the nearest police station for 10 days after her conditional release. She also has to hand over her passport and cannot travel abroad without the court permission. Reacting to the bail given to Rhea, her lawyer Satish Manisande said, "We are delighted by the order. Truth and justice have prevailed and ultimately the submission of facts and law have been accepted." Rhea Chakraborty was arrested on September 8 by the Narcotics Control Bureau on charges of organizing drugs for Sushant Singh Rajput, a popular movie star who was found dead in his Mumbai apartment on June 14. She was accused of being an active member of drug syndicate and financing drugs used by Sushant Singh Rajput, her boyfriend. In her bail petition, Rhea Chakraborty has said that she and her brother were sole targets of witch hunt by multiple agencies who had found no evidence incriminating her in the case. She had alleged that Sushant Singh Rajput took advantage of those closest to him to sustain his drug habit, and that she had tried to rid him of it. She also said that she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and his family abandoned him at the peak of his depression. His mental health deteriorated during the lockdown, she claimed, adding that the death of actor Irfan Khan and Rishi Kapoor also had a tremendous impact on him. Sushant Singh Rajput was extremely happy after being offered 14,000 crore rupees for a movie, Rhea Chakraborty bail plea said, alleging that the actor was disturbed over a rift with his family, especially his father. Rhea Chakraborty also argued that the charges against her were too severe compared to the quantity of drugs involved. She accused the drugs probe agency of spinning a false narrative that she was involved in illegal drugs trafficking and harbored offenders. The CBI is investigating the circumstances of Sushant Singh Rajput's death, and the Enforcement Directorate is looking into financial allegation raised by the actor's father. The Narcotics Control Bureau stepped into the Sushant Singh Rajput investigation when WhatsApp chats retrieved from Rhea Chakraborty's phone revealed alleged conversation involving the procuring of drugs. Several top actors have been questioned by the Anti-Drug Bureau in the widening probe into drugs and the film industry. Bureau Report. And we are now joined by Advocate Divyanshi. Divyanshi, update us on the matter.
Yes, actually, Bombay High Court has granted bail to actress Rhea Chakraborty, Dipesh Sawant, and Samuel Miranda. But brother of Rhea Chakraborty, that is Showik Chakraborty, and Abdul Palghar didn't get bail today. Her bail application is allowed by the court, subjected to furnishing a PR bond of rupees 1 lakh among other conditions. Like she has to appear before the court, before the nearest police station every day for 10 days after she is released on bail. And court has also restricted her from leaving the country. Court has said that as the investigation did not reveal any recovery from her, nor from her house, so there is no basis for denying her bail application.
Thank you, Divyanshi, for the update. Moving on. The Gujarat High Court has imposed a fine of 2,000 rupees and punishment till rising of the court on advocate Yatin Oza in the criminal attempt case registered against him for making scurrilous remark against High Court and the registry. During a live press conference on Facebook, a division bench of Justice Sonia Gokani and N.V. Anjaria had found him to be guilty of contempt, and the sentence ordered in the matter was passed today. The court has intimated that in case of default in complying with the sentence, Oza shall undergo imprisonment for 2 months. The division bench has pronounced its verdict in the criminal contempt case suo motu initiated by the High Court after Oza, the president of the Gujarat High Court Advocates Association, made public allegations of maladministration of justice within the High Court. On July 18, the High Court had revoked the senior designation given to Oza, recalling the full court decision of 1999 designating him as a senior advocate. The cause of action was a Facebook Live conference held by Oza in June, where he alleged that the High Court registry had following corrupt practices and that undue favors were being shown to high-profile industrialists and smugglers. The High Court took suo motu cognizance of Oza's statement and initiated contempt proceeding. The Allahabad High Court has issued notice in a plea filed by Google challenging a permanent injunction passed by a trial court amounting to blocking of videos of news organization and de-indexing of news articles. Noting that the matter requires consideration by the court, the bench of Justice Mahesh Chandra Tripathi directed the parties to maintain status quo. The court has accorded 6 weeks' time to the respondent to file a counter affidavit and 1 week thereafter for Google to file a rejoinder affidavit. The matter is to be listed in the week commencing November 23rd. The petition filed by Google seeks to set aside the order of the trial court passed on 14 September by which it had rejected the stay application filed under Section 151 of Code of Civil Procedure 1908 against the impugned ex parte decree. The ex parte decree was passed in a suit which sought taken down removal of videos on YouTube and the de-indexing of certain search results from Google search. The said decree passed by the trial court granted a permanent injunction and cost in favor of the respondent before the High Court. And in its appeal against the order before the High Court, Google contended that summons in the suit was neither served upon the company nor YouTube. Thus, it did not have knowledge of the said suit proceeding prior to passing of the decree. It was also submitted that the company does not have any office at the address mentioned in the memo of parties and that the plaintiff before the trial court had deliberately not mentioned Google's publicly available address. The Patna High Court has sought the state government's reply in a PIL against alleged strike by employees rendering ambulance services. Expressing concern over halt of essential service in the state, the bench of Chief Justice Sanjay Karol and Justice S. Kumar observed that we only hope and expect that the essential services that is providing ambulance to the needy is restored immediately, be it voluntary by the service providers or with the effort and endeavor of the state government. Allegedly, ambulance workers are presently posted on a mandatory 12-hour shift without any weekly offs. A local news daily had reported last month that over 100 workers had decided to resort to an indefinite strike as a measure to stress their demand of regularization of service and human work hours. Given the prevalent health emergency condition, the matter is being treated as urgent and is listed for hearing tomorrow, that is October 8, 2020. It was only in August this year that the High Court had warned doctors and health workers against calling strike. The court expressed the strike view that during the time of current situation and circumstances prevalent as a result of pandemic COVID-19, none of the functionaries empowered and authorized under the provision of the Disaster Management Act 2005 and the Epidemic Diseases Act 1897 can refrain from discharging their duties and functions. And the Delhi High Court has issued notice in a petition to make a virtual hearing at National Company Law Tribunal and National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, accessible to the public including advocates who are not involved in the case being heard. Notice was issued by a single judge bench of Justice Navin Chawla in the petition preferred by Advocate Deepak Khosla. Khosla explained that while some advocate might wish to observe a particular hearing, some person might simply wish to attend a hearing for academic purposes. The solution is that the tribunal follows the lead of the Delhi High Court, he stated. In his petition before the High Court, Khosla has thus sought a direction to the two tribunals to allow him to witness all the virtual hearings pertaining to his professional or personal interest. While the court agreed that the tribunal are indeed open courts, it referred to the order passed by the Justice Suresh Kumar Kate and opined that certain restrictions ought to be in place. In response, Khosla asserted that what Justice Kate experienced was an aberration. He added that in order to avoid such a situation, a separate link which will mandatorily have audio video switched off might be generated for the public. Court has sought the assistance of the additional Solicitor General in the matter. The matter would be heard next on November 20th. And that's all for Courts Roundup today. Thank you for tuning in. Keep watching APN for more updates from around the nation.
India Legal presents Courts Roundup.